Hey, and welcome to Visual PKM. I'm Jolt. Cohort 8 of the Visual Thinking Workshop has just completed. We were reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. This video is a quick recap of the ideas that stood out for me from the book. At the end of the video, we will briefly look under the hood. I'll show you how this book on a page is much more than just a pretty picture. So stick around till the end. The book is about becoming the best version of yourself through the simple process of deciding the type of person you want to become and then proving this to yourself with small wins. I'll divide my summary into 4 parts. We'll first talk about how tiny actions can lead to big differences. Then we'll explore why focus on your identity and on systems is crucial. We'll explore how in the end everything boils down to repetition. Finally, we'll explore some important topics organized around flow, perception of time, willpower, and context. The key message I took away from the book can be summarized by this single visual. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Essentially, the process of building habits is the process of becoming yourself. But this is not a static process. Your identity shapes your habits, and in turn, your habits shape your identity. But the thing to keep in mind is how habits will have an impact one way or another. In the long run, the quality of our lives depend on the quality of our habits. Good habits will lead to a good life, bad habits to a bad life, and some habits to disaster. So we can agree, habits are important. But what are they anyway? Essentially, habits are behaviors to solve problems. To reduce stress, one smokes while the other runs. Your habits aren't always optimal. They're just the ones you've found. An atomic habit is a little habit that is part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. But it is far too easy to miss the big picture. You can always explain a single decision. If you work late tonight and ignore your family, they will forgive you. But if you do this for an extended period, you'll likely end up in a divorce. There is a myth you should know about. Do you also believe that big success demands massive effort? Or can it be that there's a better way? Tiny changes can lead to massive results. If you change the direction of an airplane flying from San Francisco to the East Coast just by a fraction, the difference in destination can be New York versus Washington, D.C. Habits can drive better quality of life, but major changes require new ways of thinking. It's healthy to look in the mirror every once in a while. A habits scorecard will help you build awareness about your behavior. After all, you must first recognize your habits to alter them. Small changes in habits can profoundly impact your life's direction. Over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could be. However, these changes are not gradual. Habits often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold and unlock a new level of performance. But here I would want to voice my skepticism. James quotes the British cycling team as an example of the compounding effects of 1% improvements. I'm, however, skeptical about 1% changes. To begin with, 1% sounds small, but it is a huge change in reality. Because old habits are hard to change, and our willpower is limited, it is extremely hard to sustain exponential progress as suggested by James. However, regardless of the ongoing improvement being 1% or 0.1% or less, the right atomic habits will most certainly take us closer to our targets. And this takes us to part 2, because if your objective is to improve with 1% each day, you must be really committed and must have a robust system to support you. Behind every system of actions are a system of beliefs. People often focus on the outcome. You want a six-pack. Then you realize that you must hit the gym regularly to build that. But if this is where you stop, you will likely fail. Sustainable results must originate from who you are. Therefore, behavior change is identity change. Think not of the target, I want to run a marathon, but of who you want to become, a runner. Don't just learn to illustrate, but become a visual thinker. A runner will go for a workout the day after the marathon. The other person will likely not. Thus, it is important to express your identity clearly. I'm a lifelong learner, I meet deadlines, I'm a reader, and so on. But you shouldn't stop there. An identity alone is not enough. You also need a system. Because you do not rise to the level of your goals, but fall to the level of your systems. The truth is, we have no other option but to follow where our habits lead us. An astonishing 40 to 50% of the actions you perform every day are done out of habit. All behavior is driven by the desire to solve problems, and all habits proceed through these 4 stages. It always starts with a cue. For example, you're hungry. Then continues with a craving. You think of something delicious. This is followed by a response. You cook something or go to a restaurant. And finally concludes with your reward. A successful system must make the habit obvious so you get triggered to do it regularly. Habits must also be attractive so you will want to do it. They must be easy and convenient, and finally you must make them satisfying. So you will want to come back and do it again and again and again. James argues that a good system will produce good outcomes almost regardless of your intentions. If you love your process, you will feel fulfilled. If you're only after the desired outcome, then you will be on a constant emotional roller coaster and will feel empty when you've reached your goal, because goals are only momentary. Throughout the book, you'll find many practical tools and approaches. Here, I'll only highlight a few to give you a flavor. Implementation intentions will help you make the habit obvious. Simply attach the desired habit to an event and let autopilot do the rest. For example, when I get home from work, I will call mom. Implementation intentions work because they make it clear what needs to happen when. You see, many people think they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity. Studies have shown that if you ask people how they are going to achieve a simple target, such as voting on election day, those who were asked to explain how they will travel to the polling station were drastically more likely to vote than those who just said they would go and vote. But you should also ensure the process is fulfilling. James writes about a salesperson who started every day with 2 jars on his desk. One filled with 200 paper clips, the other empty. Each time he completed a sales call, he moved 1 clip from jar to jar. Each day he emptied the jar, making 200 calls and feeling satisfied. As a result, he closed many deals and rose very quickly in the ranks. But, and this is but with capital letters, habits will not magically make you into someone who you are not. You need to understand yourself and find the game where the odds are in your favor. In short, Genes do not determine your destiny, but they determine your areas of opportunity. Ask these questions to yourself. What feels like fun to me, but work to others? What makes me lose track of time? Where do I get greater returns than the average person? What comes naturally to me? So you have a clear vision of who you want to become and have developed a strong system based on cue, craving, response, and reward. Now you need to train your autopilot. If you want to master a habit, the key is to start with repetition, not perfection. You don't need to map out every feature of a new habit. You just need to practice it because repeating habits physically changes your brain. This process is called myelination. Essentially, by repeating the habit, you trigger relevant neurons to fire more frequently. In turn, this will strengthen the myelin sheath on the axons, carving an ever deeper groove in your brain, so to say. Reduce emotional friction by making the first 2 minutes of your habit easy and rewarding, and let autopilot carry you on from there. Repetition is more important than perfection. Master the habit of showing up. You simply can't improve a habit that does not exist. A habit tracker will keep you honest, and the empty squares will motivate you to get going. Like in the case of the paper clips, trackers can become their own rewards. However, there are 2 pitfalls you should look out for. Unfortunately, repetition has a downside as well. When the grooves in your mind are deep enough, you are at risk of getting stuck in the narrative rut. A good approach is to experiment with small changes regularly to avoid getting stuck or bored with your habits. The other pitfall is self-dissonance. This is when you're forcing a behavior that is simply not you. Habits that are incongruent with self will not last. So don't overplan, just do it. Repetition is more important in establishing habits than perfection, and look out for the narrative rut and self-dissonance. Finally, let's talk about flow, the perception of time, willpower, and context. Improvements need to be balanced. As you build skill, you will need more difficult challenges to stay engaged. Seek challenges at the edge of your skills such that you are still able to make progress and stay motivated. According to Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, you are in a state of flow where time disappears when the difficulty of the task matches your level of skill. Enjoy the process, not the outcome. No matter what you do, you will always face difficulties. You should look for the problems you enjoy solving because there are far more problems you will need to overcome than successes to celebrate. The fact is, we have the brains of our ancestors, but temptations they had never had to face. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. Our ancestors lived on the savannah. That was an immediate return environment. Nowadays, we live in a largely delayed return environment. Unfortunately, often when the immediate consequences are favorable, the later consequences are disastrous, and vice versa. So you might be thinking, no problem, I'll power through. But sadly, our willpower depletes quickly. Self-control is a short-term strategy which will inevitably fail on the long run. One way to help yourself is to make the undesired habit impractical. A commitment device is the opposite of the 2-minute rule. It is a choice you make in the present that will control your actions in the future, such as leaving the beer in the pantry, not the fridge. In summary, discipline is overrated. Our habits are triggered by our context. Think how at the party you're more likely to drink than at the office. This is both good news and bad news. The good news is that by better structuring our lives, we can be consistent in our habits without requiring heroic willpower and self-control. By avoiding situations, by employing tools like commitment devices, we can break bad habits. But the bad news is, we do not forget habits. When we are back in our old context, we will likely fall back into our old habits. As we round off this short recap of atomic habits, remember to regularly reflect and review your habits, your progress, and your performance. Over time, flexibility to change beats rigidness and toughness. Can one coin make a person rich? If you give a person a pile of 10 coins, you wouldn't claim that he or she is rich. But what if you add another, and another, and another? The holy grail of habit change is not a single 1% improvement, but 1,000 of them. Never stop making improvements. I hope you enjoyed this brief summary of atomic habits. If you enjoyed this and are interested in creating similar book-on-a-page summaries, check out the Visual Thinking Workshop. Cohort 9 will start on June 2nd, and we will be reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. Check the link in the description. I created this book on a page using the Excalibur plugin in Obsidian. For more information, check out the description below. Each of these cards on the BOP are stored in a separate file. For example, if I open the card about identity-based habits, then you can observe two things. First, I can check the backlinks and find all the locations where I make reference to this card. In this case, there are the book on a page and my literature notes. If I click to open the literature notes, Obsidian takes me immediately to the part where I first created this card. This is very useful when I want to find the source of an idea. Second, behind the scenes, each card is a markdown file. This is important because I can add additional context to each card that is not visible on the image, but available in Markdown view. In this case, I linked Simon Sinek's Start with Why and the Circle of Influence. I could follow these links to further explore my notes, but instead I want to show you one more neat feature. I have a number of cards on this BOP that come from other book on a pages. Implementation intentions and some other cards come from the periodic table of productivity. Myelination comes from my book on a page about deep work, and I've used my illustration about flow, for example, in my book on a page about decoding greatness. The same, of course, is true about the icons I use. I can click to navigate icons, and they will take me to other relevant notes. For example, the man practicing piano appears in many places. My notes about the 7 steps for creating concept visuals, my book on a page summary of how to take smart notes, a card from the practicing Stoic, and so on. In closing, I hope you enjoyed this summary of atomic habits and the sneak peek behind the curtain. If you're interested to learn more, then check out the links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, click like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.